I've been tracking specifically the worlds of crypto and content fusing in the form of a new TV show, which is called Mad Realities. It's a new dating show model off of Proof of Love, which is a play on proof of stake and proof of work. And it's a community crypto-powered program where audiences essentially buy into a social token, and in exchange, they get access and have a say on what happens and who dates in the program and perhaps what they wear or where they dine, things of that nature.
That was Cassandra Napoli, WGSN Senior Strategist for Digital Marketing, explaining a reality TV show where the viewers can buy the power to make decisions which have real-world consequences for the participants of the show. Now, while this sounds like something ripped from the pages of Aldous Huxley's novels, I can assure you that this is very much real life and just one of a multitude of new and inventive applications of digital and cryptocurrencies. Today, as well as Cassandra Napoli.
Hi, how are you?
I'm also joined by Sarah Housley.
Hi, Andrea. Nice to speak with you.
Who is head of WGSN's consumer tech platform based in the UK. This week, we're talking all things crypto, from Web3, Metaverse, and NFTs, to some of our favorite examples of brands taking advantage of cryptocurrencies in the real world. But first, let's start with a breakdown of exactly what cryptocurrency is and how are we defining it from our resident expert, Sarah Housley.
We'll start at the beginning. So the big buzzword or concept that's the kind of the backbone of all of this is Web3 or Web 3.0. And that is the next era of the internet and of digital technology. And really the technologies underpinning Web3 are things like blockchain, decentralization, NFTs, cryptocurrency, and also the Metaverse, which isn't going to be our focus today, but we've done a whole other podcast on the Metaverse that dives into that. So yeah, that's your basics on Web3. And then cryptocurrency within that is a kind of digital currency that is hosted on and is part of blockchain.
But, Sarah, it's interesting. I know you've been doing this for so long. I feel like you could do a whole dissertation on kind of crypto, Web3, and the industry that is. Why do you think 2021 was kind of the year that accelerated? I don't want to say mainstream crypto, but just kind of everyday people having somewhat of an understanding. Can you kind of tell us why now?
Yeah, I can try to. So to start with some data, in 2021, global crypto ownership rates were averaging at 3.9%. So I think it's a great point that you say we're not quite mainstreaming. We're still at that 3.9% mark. So it's very, very small, but it's growing. And there's just so much buzz. The average person on the street now might have heard of cryptocurrency and probably has heard of Bitcoin, definitely. So there's more than 300 million crypto users worldwide. And around the world, 18,000 businesses are accepting cryptocurrency payments. So it's definitely taken off. And the last 2 years, in tandem with lockdowns and the pandemic, has really seen the rise of NFTs. And that's part of a whole bigger trend around the gamification of finance. And also just the maturing of digital culture and digital artists and the creator economy, which Cassandra can speak about in much more depth, really starting to want to be rewarded for their work and acknowledged for their work. Because before, with Web 1 and Web 2.0, creators were kind of expected to work on the internet and to produce work for free. And then the big platforms would profit off of that work. And Web 3 is really about creators taking back that control, which is where crypto and NFT can play a really important part as well. And
I know there's so much, Sarah, to your point, in the creator economy space, and we've got more to come on that. But I thought it was really interesting, that stats about brands and how many brands are now accepting crypto and Bitcoin, which I feel like 5 years ago wasn't heard of. Cassandra, Sarah mentioned, the kind of consumer drivers and why it was accelerated. What does that look like to you in terms of brands, who are starting to see crypto as an area of investment and, kind of accepting it as payment as well? Where do you see the entry point for brands?
Yeah, I think similar to what Sarah was saying, we are very kind of still in the early stages. Crypto can be a very daunting space for many, and it's quite overwhelming as to even where to start, where to buy it, where to go, like how do you set up your wallet, things of that nature. So there's a bit of a gap in between, sort of like a knowledge gap, I would say, for the masses. But early adapting brands are really starting to sort of wrap their heads around the space and kind of experiment. So in July, one of my favorite examples was Corona. They leveraged cryptocurrency as part of its Cryptocurrency campaign, really giving customers a chance to win. I think it was about $2,500 in crypto for booking via Expedia. most recently, I think it was about last month, Shake Shack offered Bitcoin as a reward for purchases made at the burger chain using Cash App. So customers were given a 15% off of their purchase in the form of a Bitcoin on any Shake Shack purchase, essentially. So we're seeing this idea of crypto rewards kind of come into play, which is a key trend that WGSN has been tracking for a while. We called it out in our key trends for 2022 report. But it's basically this idea that it's sort of incentivizing purchases with crypto in exchange.
I'm Andrea Bell, and you're listening to Create Tomorrow from WGSN. Now that we've established what cryptocurrencies are and how some brands are using them, I wanted to get some clarity on NFTs. And so we turned to Sarah Housley once again to break it down for us.
An NFT is a non-fungible token. None of us had ever used the word fungible before, and now we all use it every day. So a fungible token would be cryptocurrency, because every piece, every Bitcoin or every Ether or any kind of cryptocurrency, each one is the same. They're interchangeable. In theory, they're completely the same. A non-fungible token is just a token that is unique and isn't the same as anything else. So you can think of an NFT at quite a basic level as a digital receipt or a digital kind of proof of purchase or proof of ownership. And you can link an NFT, which is stored on the blockchain, to any kind of asset, digital or physical. So we primarily think of them as being linked to artworks and digital art, things like that. But you can link NFTs to cars. You can use them to create deeds to real estate and housing. We're really starting to see just endless use cases take off. And the appeal to brands is that, first of all, they can enter a whole new world of digital assets and assigning ownership to digital assets, so they can start to give consumers something new, either sell them something new or at the moment kind of market them something new. The appeal to consumers is that they can really start to own things on the internet. And as I said before, we're quite used to thinking of the internet as this quite nebulous thing that we don't really own things in. We don't really have possessions. But in this next era of the internet, where we are living more on it and we are more embodied in it, perhaps we're living in the Metaverse, we will want to buy and own things. And if we want to actually have ownership of, say, the clothes we wear, or the cars we drive in the Metaverse, whatever it is, then we need to buy NFTs to have that ownership.
It's so fascinating to think that there's so many different points of entries for brands. And I think even for the average consumer, when I first started hearing about NFTs, I was just, what does this mean? I can buy digital art, I can buy real estate, and now you just see essentially, every industry is being upended and kind of impacted by the potentials that NFT has and will continue to have. Now, I know that felt like a difficult one, and I feel like I'm just giving you guys the difficult ones in this podcast. I'll go to a lighter one, even though it might be the most difficult one. I'd love to hear from both of you. Both of you are studying and kind of in this space so much. Who do you think is could be a person, a brand, or artist that is getting, what is your favorite NFT example? Who's kind of getting it right? It could be from a brand case study, or it could be just one that, it's an artist that you're really passionate about and you think they're doing it really well. I'm going to start with you, Cassandra. Who should we look to for kind of a great example of an NFT done effectively?
One of my favorite examples recently has been Adidas's Into the Metaverse project. It was kind of one of the first times that we've seen a brand really partner with a Web3 native company. So part of the experience was, or part of the Into the Metaverse experience was, they teamed with NFT communities like Bored Ape Yacht Club. And so it was really the first time that they're, kind of collaborating with a native Web3 company to create an experience that really feels authentic, and that's going to kind of mature over time. And they've rolled out 100 of other instances since then. They've teamed with Prada, and it's going to kind of continue over time. So I would say that one. I'm also paying attention to Tyler Henney, founder of Outdoor Voices. She just launched Try Your Best, which is a new business venture for her. Basically, it's kind of set up to be a social token system. So the idea that you can get ownership in the brands that you really value. It's just launched, and so I'm really excited to see how that will kind of take shape over time. She's already teamed up with a few similar kind of direct-to-consumer brands like Hill House Home to kind of power this experience. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that takes shape this year.
I'm also just constantly fascinated by the strategic partnerships between kind of technology companies or what would be known in a previous kind of life, pure tech players working with digital product designers, working with traditional fashion designers, and just, again, home interior designers. I feel like there's so much more freedom and strategic collaboration happening because everyone's truly trying to bring their knowledge to their space. So on that note, Sarah, we can't leave us hanging. Who do you think has done it really well?
Oh, there's lots of examples, and I think Cassandra picked some really creative ones. So I might go for a slightly more utilitarian one for contrast. So the car maker Alfa Romeo just brought out one of its new models, and that comes with, it's the first car that will have its proof of maintenance on the blockchain. So you're going to have this ledger that details every time the car has been maintained by an authorized kind of dealer or repair shop, and how it's been looked after over the course of its life, so that when you resell the car, there's some added trust in the person buying it, that the car is what you say it is and has been maintained to the standard you say it has. And the potential there for me is thinking beyond cars to this bigger resale economy and repair economy that we need to move into now as we move into a circular economy. And thinking about big ticket tech items or big ticket luxury items and using blockchain to prove that they have been looked after and to the standard you would expect when you're rebuying them on the resale market. So I think in terms of sustainability, you don't always put crypto together with sustainability, but there are opportunities too. And I love to see it happening here.
I think that example, especially with disruptor to the resale, re-commerce economy, like you were saying, so many people are doing it right now. We know it's a sustainable alternative. And if we can kind of use this as a case study for auto sales, again, to your point, what does that mean for luxury handbags or, just everyday items that we can hopefully get back into the economy? This is Create Tomorrow, a podcast from WGSN. We're discussing all things crypto this week. Having just gotten back from South by Southwest, Sarah, Cassandra, and I are witnesses to endless conversations around Web3 and the Metaverse. So I was really keen to find out from Cassandra about the new crypto class of consumers and how Web3 is driving this new creator economy.
So we've been tracking this quote unquote crypto class for years now, and interest has really kind of boomed in 2021 and 2022. We've seen crypto influencers rise. So there's kind of two sides to the coin there. There's crypto influencers that are really democratizing information and access to information, particularly, women who are disproportionately not a part of the cryptocurrency kind of community as opposed to men. So there's new kind of collectives, I would say, that are really interesting. There's one called SheFi. There's one called Web3 Baddies that really democratize the information. There's also creators in the crypto community that are democratizing the information. We've got a report coming out this Friday, so take a look at that. But at the same time, there's also this kind of dangerous aspect to crypto influencers, where influencers kind of outside the crypto community, like a Kim Kardashian, for example, promoting different cryptocurrencies rather, that becomes a bit dangerous because they're not necessarily doing the work. They have massive influence over their communities. And so there's this kind of paradox of influence happening there. At the same time, though, we're also seeing kind of new types of influence take shape thanks to cryptocurrencies. So social tokens are a really great example. Creators are essentially building micro economies around their social status via crypto tokens that can be bought by fans and basically unlock incentives for that financial support. So basically, these tools give creators autonomy over their content and how they're paid, and social tokens simultaneously offer fans greater access to those creators. So we talk about, obviously, everything goes back to the metaverse these days, but things like a virtual concert, for example, they're not necessarily going to go away, but a social token, if a artist has a social token and I subscribe to that social token, in exchange, I might be able to engage with that artist before or after an event, perhaps do a meet and greet. It's kind of like a VIP or rewards opportunity for me if I buy into that social token. And I can go on about this forever, but there's tons of communities or platforms rather that really facilitate this. Probably the most well-known is Rally.io. And so lots of creators are kind of powering this to sidestep the idea of having to promote sponsored posts and things of that nature and really build that intimate community or intimate relationship rather with their communities, if that makes sense.
I think the education piece there is really critical as well. I mean, with any industry, but I feel like crypto particularly, or anything with Web3, gets kind of put in the forefront for misinformation. And obviously, if you're a fashion influencer or beauty influencer, there's also misinformation. But I do like that there's this kind of new rallying behind, the celebrities may be saying one thing and it may not be the best investment, but we have created a community of people that you can come to for accurate information, not disinformation. So I think that whole idea of the creator economy really driving those new conversations and those education factors is really useful for the everyday person, including myself.
There's this idea of learn to earn happening at the moment. So we've seen play to earn in the metaverse space, but learn to earn is this idea that you essentially subscribe to these communities. So the Web3 baddies, the She-Fi, the Boys Club, these are all communities really powered and designed to allow or democratize access to information about cryptocurrency and Web3 and all of that good stuff. And really, educate the masses so that there's not this knowledge gap and there's not this gender gap in cryptocurrency, which is such a problem at the moment for, equality across the board.
And just democratizing everything. And do we all need Web3 baddie shirts, guys? Because I feel like that in itself is something. All right, so this one's going to be a really quick fire round, team. What are you most looking forward to about crypto and about this industry? What kind of keeps you up with your Google alert? If you see it on your phone, you're just instantly grabbing your phone. So Sarah, I'll start with you.
Oh God, that's the hardest question you've asked in this whole session. Really. Well, something we haven't touched on yet, but we might go into more detail, and I don't know what you have planned, Andrea, is DAOs, which is decentralized autonomous organizations. And they're something a little bit separate to NFTs. They've existed since the beginning of crypto, but they're getting a lot of attention in 2022. And that is a decentralized way to structure an organization or even a company. And you can essentially think of a DAO as a digital co-op. So what you need is a group chat on a channel like Discord, and then a group bank account. And you all buy one token or more, and the token gives you voting rights or kind of input rights in the direction of the DAO. And that might sound really high concept. What gets me excited about it is that I think it can be used for design and for creativity in really exciting ways, because we know that co-creation is really, really important to people now, to consumers, but also to the creative industry. And I think that a DAO is a truly kind of democratized way of enabling new modes of creativity. And Andrea, in your flagship WGSN report, Future Consumer, you've got a whole consumer group or persona that is very interested in DAOs. And you give an amazing example of a DAO that's been set up to enable autonomous mobility as well. So it's not only small scale projects, it's rethinking city structure, it's rethinking transport. DAOs are being used for absolutely huge, ambitious aims at the moment. So that's what's exciting me in particular.
I have to say, DAOs are really exciting me as well. And I'm not just playing up to Sarah. I think what's really interesting is there was a quote, and I can't remember if it was Jack Dorsey, but he essentially said, every industry will be impacted by DAOs. It's a matter of time. Need to fact check the quote, guys. I think it's Jack Dorsey. And I thought that's just such a powerful statement to Sarah's point. Is it autonomous mobility? Is it sustainability? People actually buying land to make sure that it doesn't get forest and they're donating it to be rewild. So the opportunities are endless. But I think right now from DAOs, we're kind of seeing it more as a headless brand in the fashion aspect. But I think Sarah raises some really valuable points for the listeners that it can impact everything. And it's definitely sparking creativity and co-creation, which is something in turbulent times we know we all need. So Cassandra, yours.
Yeah, I think going back to the whole idea of that social tokens, like this ownership economy is really interesting to me. At South by Southwest, going off what Sarah just said, Sosti Rapotis at MediaLink said that DAOs are actually offer ownership to a generation that hasn't really owned anything, which I thought was really interesting. And we're seeing a lot of crypto media also at the same time, kind of playing into this ownership economy too. So I've been tracking specifically the worlds of crypto and content fusing in the form of a new TV show, which is called Mad Realities. It's a new dating show model off of Proof of Love, which is a play on proof of stake and proof of work. And it's a community crypto-powered program where audiences essentially buy into a social token, and in exchange, they get access and have a say on what happens and who dates in the program and perhaps what they wear or where they dine, things of that nature. It's really rewriting the rules of reality television, and the social audience is essentially in control. They have ownership over it. So that's what's really interesting to me in terms of crypto media.
I feel like this could definitely go wrong on a show like Great British Bake Off. Midway through, we ask them to quit cooking something. We throw the oven out, but I love the idea that there's experimenting with it. Thank you to my guests this week, Sarah Housley and Cassandra Napoli. If you're a WGSN subscriber, you can find many reports covering all things crypto, Web3, Metaverse, and the crypto class, plus the latest trends and developments in consumer tech. If you want to find out how to subscribe, head over to WGSN.com to discover how you can access to our service. We're constantly publishing new content, focusing on how we can design a brighter, better future for our industries, including food and drink, beauty, interiors, fashion, and consumer tech. You can subscribe to this podcast on all major platforms. And if you like what you heard, why not give us a rating and a review? Thanks.